Hi, everybody, and welcome. My name's Mary Larson,
My name's Blake.
and we're here to talk about the Rise of Skywalker. Oh my gosh, I've been waiting for this night.
Yeah, this has been an important night. This has been an important day. This is something that we've been building towards, I think now for quite some time. So, I think we're in good shape here. We're in good shape. We're ready to go. As a matter of fact, this is a Facebook Live exclusive.
Yes,
This will not be on the podcast. Well, unless you guys want it to be on the podcasts. I don't know.
it'll
What
go
do you
to YouTube.
What do you think, Mary?
It'll go to YouTube and it'll be on Facebook.
Yes. Yes.
But we're hardcore Star Wars fans. And of course, we love to podcast about television shows and movies that intrigue us, that bring us joy, that bring conversation about. And goodness, you couldn't.
Yeah, this is one of those things. I think we should start the Mary and Blake show. You know, it's like it's not Outlander, it's not This Is Us, it's not like The Crown. It's just Mary and Blake. We're
There you
here.
go.
We're having fun. It's the Mary and Blake show.
Okay.
We might do that. If there's enough popularity with it, maybe we'll start the podcast. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
No, you don't think so?
No, I don't think so. We've got enough on our plates.
That's true.
So anyway, The Rise of Skywalker came out December 20th.
Yes.
It is today, the day that we're recording this, January 1st. Happy New Year to everybody.
Yes.
And we couldn't think of a more better way to kick off the new year than to talk about Star Wars.
The Rise of Skywalker. So where I mean, let's just do this first. I think I'm in a place to talk about the Rise of Skywalker. I'm actually happy that we took the time to wait a little bit for it.
We've seen it now twice. We saw it
Yes.
on the 20th and then on the 21st.
Yes.
So, yeah, we've seen it twice. We've been able to digest it. You know, there was part of us that wanted to come on like the day after we'd seen it and give you like our immediate feedback, but we've really been able to digest it. We've listened to the score many a time. We've had discussions about it. And I agree. I'm glad that we were able to digest it. It also allowed many of you to be able to go out and see the movie. So be warned that this Facebook video will contain spoilers.
Yes, and as it says right down below, right there, it says spoiler review. So please know that we will be talking about spoilers. If you have not yet seen it, I don't know how you have not yet seen it because it's made nearly
People have been busy with the holidays.
Well, it's made nearly $700 million, maybe even more as of the moment of this recording.
Okay.
So that's a big friggin' deal.
That is.
$700 million within the first week and a half or 2 weeks of release.
They did a good job.
Yeah, that's that's enough to warrant actually a whole new trilogy in my opinion.
Wow.
Because it's actually right on par, if not even leading the Last Jedi
Okay.
in terms of box office revenue. So having said that, if Disney ever planned on making a new trilogy, the money is there. I mean, this is already.
Except we were told that they were done. That Skywalker's story is done.
Right, the Skywalker story as we know it is done. That is what it is. The Skywalker story is done. Episode 9 was the final chapter. That is what it is. But let's put this into perspective. Solo, the movie Solo, that only made about $500 million in box office revenue, and The Rise of Skywalker has already surpassed it
Okay.
and nearly doubled it. So there's enough juice there, and there's no signs of slowing. By the way, if this movie doesn't end up with $1 billion, maybe $1.2 billion, I'd be surprised.
That's a lot of money.
That's
right
a
there.
lot of bread. That is a
Okay.
lot of bread.
Okay.
So having said that, there's actually plans right now with Rian Johnson, who was the director of The Last Jedi, to create his own trilogy of Star Wars films. That is the plan, at least, or at the very least, there was going to be 1 or 2 movies from Rian Johnson. If you're into the Star Wars and you're into the whole deal, you may or may not know that D.B. Weiss and David Benioff, the creators of Game of Thrones, were actually contracted to create their own trilogy of Star Wars films as well.
Disney's just like, let's just keep rolling in the dough.
There's no point.
We'll have everyone.
There's no point not to, right?
Oh my gosh.
However, David Benioff and D.B. Weiss have since exited that project. They left after, I think, what was some really bad critical and even fan criticism of Game of Thrones, the final season.
Okay.
But they
Rightly so.
don't worry about them. They went and signed a 7 or 8 figure deal with Netflix
Oh.
to create content for Netflix.
Okay.
So that's that. So don't cry for me, Argentina.
Okay.
The double D's will be fine.
All right.
So
Needless to say.
yeah, so we're here talking about the
We're
Rise
here-
of
yes.
Skywalker, as it says right there. We're going to talk about the Rise of Skywalker. So let's start it off how we normally do, Mary.
Okay.
What's your lightsaber rating?
Oh, okay.
What do
That's
you got?
where
How
we're
many
going.
lightsabers you given?
Since you are joining us here on Facebook Live, we would love to know your lightsaber rating. We love to rate things based on a 1 to 5 scale.
Correct.
1 being the worst. The worst.
Well,
burr.
0 being the worst.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1
right.
being the worst. Burr.
And, 5 being fan flippantastic. I would give this a 4.7.
Oh wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Why are you giving it a 4.7?
We'll get into it, but I'm giving this episode of the Star Wars saga a 4.7.
Okay. Where would you? Next inherent question is, where would you rank this among all of the episodes?
Let's get back to that in a hot second.
All right, we'll get there in a minute. All right, for me, I'm giving this, I think, a 4.6.
Why are we listening on these if we're not listening to any sounds?
I don't know. So you can hear us. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm giving this a 4.6.
Okay. So we're really close.
We're
neck.
close. We're right.
Okay.
We're right in the same vicinity. I
Yep.
think of our ratings. Not perfect. Not terrible. Not like I want to go and just and cry to everybody on
you
the
did.
planet. Well, no, I mean about how bad it is.
Oh.
But it's not one of those things that just it didn't. I loved this film. It didn't grab me. The Force Awakens did.
Okay, so Karen Snelling is asking, curious what your rating would have been for the previous two.
See, that's a
So
good
for
question.
The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. So that's what we'll need to talk about. Is like, where would you rate this upon the last trilogy? So
Mhm.
episodes 7, 8, and 9. How would you rate those 3?
See, I really loved The Force Awakens.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I truly loved The Force Awakens. It was one of those films that made me feel like a kid watching Star Wars again.
Yes.
I watched it and I was like, yep, I get it. I get what you're doing. I see it. I love it. I love the
Yep.
characters.
Mm-hmm.
I love the story. I love the pacing. I love the music. I love the fact that it called back to the original trilogy. It just felt like Star Wars.
It did.
The Last Jedi, however, it did not feel like The Force Awakens.
No. And rightly so, because it was a different writer. A
Right,
different
and
director.
Ryan Johnson wrote and directed The Last
Mm-hmm.
Jedi, whereas J.J. Abrams and Larry Kasdan wrote The Force Awakens. You know Larry Kasdan, he's the writer of The Raiders of the Lost Ark. He's
You
the
know
writer.
him. No, I don't.
Well, he's the writer of Empire Strikes Back,
Okay.
Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
Like he's a big deal.
Okay.
He's Hollywood like
Royalty. Okay.
okay.
I didn't know him.
So and J.J. Abrams obviously directed The Force Awakens.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that.
So what would be higher ranking, in your opinion, The Last Jedi or The Rise of Skywalker?
I think both were fantastic. Both had both were excellent. Both had their issues. I would probably put them equally at 4.7,
Okay.
right? How about you? Where would you put them?
I mean, you just bumped it up because you were 4.6. I said 4.7.
Well, no, I would say equally both of them, The Force Awakens and The Last
Okay.
Jedi at 4.7,
Okay.
and I put The Rise of Skywalker at 4.6.
Okay. All right.
So it's not like I'm in on The Rise of Skywalker. I enjoyed it. I don't care what anybody says. There were some issues with it. Fine, we'll talk about it, but I loved it. So
Okay.
how about you? Where would you put The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi?
Okay.
And in comparison to The Rise of Skywalker.
Yes. I will agree with you. I think the top is The Force Awakens, just because there was so much fear going into the final trilogy after the prequels.
Yes.
You know, to know what happened with the Phantom Menace. And yes, we can go back and we can have a grain of salt and deal with Jar Jar Binks and deal with midichlorian, and swallow down some things just because we were excited about Star Wars and we were excited about Darth Vader's story and his upbringing and how he
Sure.
became the man he was. But we were nervous for this trilogy to come out.
Yep.
To see what they were going to do with it and also how they were going to modernize. And I completely agree with you. I think that The Force Awakens was that for us. The Force was back for us, and we weren't sitting there necessarily pointing fingers saying, well, that's a stupid character, and what is this random plot line? It was all exciting and new, but we also felt like Rey. We were all scavengers in this foreign world trying to figure out things together and see where was Luke and what is Leia up to. And the music was just so iconic, and I loved how that really set the musical pace for how things were interwoven through The Last Jedi and then continued on for The Rise of Skywalker. So
Sure.
The Force Awakens wins the crown. And then when it comes to The Last Jedi versus The Rise of Skywalker.
I mean, there are some things with The Last Jedi that are immensely out of this world great, and then there are some things where they're immensely really bad.
Yes.
I mean, Kento Bite being number one out
I
of
think that I would choose The Rise of Skywalker. I'm a J.J. Abrams fan, so I think I'm leaning towards The Rise of Skywalker over The Last Jedi. I did enjoy many things in The Last Jedi, but that's how I would do it. I would rank them The Force Awakens, The Rise of Skywalker, and The Last Jedi.
I might go along with you. I might revise. I might revise my lightsaber rating for
nice.
The Last Jedi.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna. Can I apply for a take annulment?
Yes.
Okay.
Go for
A
it.
take annulment. I think I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with The
Same
Rise
thing
of
as me.
Skywalker as 4-7 and The Last Jedi is 4-6.
Okay.
That's what I'm gonna do.
So you're capping me.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Okay. I like how this is going.
I'm walking my take back. Okay, I'm walking it back.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm walking it back, I've thought about this now as you were talking, and you said you were a fan of J.J. Abrams, and you know what? I'm a J.J. Abrams fanboy. I absolutely am. There's no way around it.
You're welcome.
And thank you. Yes, because actually, Mary was the one who introduced me to the world of
In
J.J.
multiple
Abrams.
ways, I
In multiple
introduced you
ways.
to J.J. Abrams.
Yes, she did. So I'm a J.J. Abrams fanboy. I will absolutely make every excuse for J.J. Abrams.
Every?
Yeah, I will. I mean,
Okay.
when it comes to even Super 8, I'm a Super 8 fanboy too.
Yep.
Love Super 8. I'm all in on Star Trek. I'm all in on Mission Impossible 3. Clearly, I'm all in on Lost. I'm all in on Westworld. I am. Give me some J. If I met J.J. Abrams, I would pass out. Listen.
Okay.
Listen, Mary and I had the pleasure of talking to Damon Lindelof for our podcast about The Leftovers.
Mhm.
I had to take drugs in order to talk to
Not
Damon
real
Lindelof.
drugs.
Well,
anxiety.
anxiety medicine. If I actually, and that's how much I love Damon Lindelof. I cried in front of Damon Lindelof. Literally cried in front of Damon Lindelof. If I met J.J. Abrams, I would pass out.
Okay. Note to self.
So let's just be honest about that. It is what it is.
Okay, so The Rise of Skywalker. Let's
Yes.
delve into this. We've
Okay.
been dancing around it. Can we please get into the plot and let's divulge in the things that we loved? Let's deep dive into all this.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's do the big one right off the bat. Let's do the elephant in the room.
Oh, okay.
The elephant in the room being
Rose?
no, not Rose.
Oh,
No, not Rose.
okay.
The big reveal. The big
Oh.
reveal. Who is Rey?
Okay.
Rey. Okay, again. I know it says it right there. Okay, it says it right there. If you're not paying attention, it's on you. Okay, spoilers. Rey is a Palpatine.
Yes.
How does that make you feel?
Fine.
Really?
It makes me feel fine.
Why is it fine as opposed to all the haters out there that
Who say she's supposed to be a nobody?
Yeah, and this gets into a larger conversation
Okay.
about The Rise of Skywalker and how it's been written and directed in relation to The Last Jedi. And is it a giant FU to The Last Jedi? But let's pin that conversation for a
Okay.
second. Let's just talk about Rey and being a Palpatine. Does this work for you?
It completely does. I love it because she does have this incredible talent. She has this amazing power of the Force that is not explained to her. I'm fine with it. This has been all about families and messed up families and like people killing each other in families. So it just kind of made sense that Rey would somehow be related in all this. Yeah, I was totally fine with it. I'm down with her being a Palpatine.
Yeah.
I really am. And the truth is that her parents did become nobodies. They probably were nobodies. You know, it's not like we heard anything in history about Palpatine Jr. So I'm okay with her being a nobody.
One of the things I mean,
being with Palpatine.
I have a hard time accepting is Senator Palpatine having relations. Actually,
Really?
like doing the whole. Like, I can't imagine that. That'd be kind of weird for me.
Oh.
Not gonna lie.
I feel like he would have a groupie and he'd be like, whatevs.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I mean, it did come out of slightly nowhere based upon The Last Jedi where it pushed so much. You are nobody. You are nobody.
Yes.
You know, that hole where she goes into and then she just sees reflections of herself and everything.
And the
I mean, there was
snapping and the whole thing.
nothing.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder, you know, from Episode 7, was it very clear? Rey is a Palpatine. And this is where it's going to end, that Rey is going to be a Palpatine. And she and Ben Solo are going to be able to finally get rid of the Emperor. Was that like in the blueprint for everything? And did The Last Jedi just say, to hell with it, they'll figure it out in the next one? Or did they not all know that?
Well, that's a good question. The question that we have here is, was there a plan from the beginning? Now, your take, what do you think? Was there a plan from the beginning that we're going to do X, Y, and Z things? And this is where it's starting, and this is where it's going.
No.
Yeah, I don't think that there was. I think J.J. Abrams had an idea.
Yes, J.J. Abrams had his idea,
Yes.
which was she is Palpatine's descendant. I think that J.J. Abrams, while writing Episode 7, had his long game and like things worked out in his mind.
Yes.
But I don't think he told many people or they didn't share that. I don't know what happened, but Rian Johnson did not get that memo.
No, and that's the funny thing when you're planning a major trilogy like this.
Yes.
You'd like to think that there's some sort of Bible to it.
Yes.
Like.
And it didn't feel that way.
And all of the creators of what we're watching got together and were like, "Hey, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Can we go from here and get there?" Because if you don't know the history behind the Rise of Skywalker, this actually happened where J.J. Abrams was supposed to write and direct Episode 7, the Force Awakens. Rian Johnson was supposed to write and direct The Last Jedi, Episode 8. And Colin Trevorrow, who was the director of Jurassic World, was supposed to write and direct Episode 9. That was how it was going to go down.
Then Colin gave it his good old college try.
Yeah, he and his partner Derek Connolly, who wrote Jurassic World, gave it their college try. They did the best that they could. They wrote it, and Kathleen Kennedy, who is the president and CEO of Lucasfilm, saw that and it was like, yeah.
Imagine how difficult that conversation must have been. Like, these guys must have been so excited. Like, we are writing the final episode of the Star Wars saga. Oh my gosh, they wrote it in their Christmas cards. Like, and best of all,
guess what?
keep your eyes peeled for 2019 because we hit the jackpot, guys.
Yeah. And there's the thing, right? So
the story stunk.
And like Star Wars itself has been plagued since Kathleen Kennedy has taken over Lucasfilm and since the purchase from Disney of Lucasfilm. Star Wars, the franchise, has been plagued with directorial issues. I mean, big ones.
Well, here's the thing. Everybody hated on George Lucas, and they made him feel really bad about Naboo.
Yeah.
And he should have just done them all.
Wait, no. Absolutely not. Nope. No,
Why
no,
not?
no.
You don't think he would have learned?
No. Because the prequels, episodes 1 through 3,
you're not okay with 3?
No, I'm okay with 3.
I'm totally
but
okay with 3.
But there's some serious, still tonal issues, some serious structure issues with number 3. This is not a podcast about Episode 3, and this is not a podcast about George Lucas.
Poor thing.
the prequels are an exercise in when you don't, especially episode 1, when you don't have enough people to tell you no. George Lucas wrote and directed all 3 of those. And who in God's name in 1999 through 2004, 1997 through 2004 are going to tell George Lucas, the creator of Star Wars, nah, George,
Does he have any
George,
siblings?
we ain't doing that.
Because that's what you need. He needed like his older sister to take a look at the script
Yeah.
and be like, George, are you serious?
George, what are we, Jar Jar Binks, what are we doing here?
I know that all your writer friends said this is fine. It's because you pay them, George. I'm here to tell you this stinks.
A good friend of ours, Tim Gould, once said, George, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take that idea. We're going to take the idea that you got for episode 1. We're going to put that in a box. We're going to take that box and we're going to lock it up. We're going to put it on a shelf. We're going to save it for another episode. Yeah. We're going to keep that box in a special place just for you, George.
Okay.
But we're going to figure out episode 1. So, no, I do not think that George Lucas should have written or directed any more episodes of Star Wars.
We're 22 minutes in. We have not talked about this bloody plot.
No, you're right. You're right. Well, we talked about Rey for a little bit.
Okay.
So Rey being a Palpatine is a good thing for you.
Yes.
And it's a good. And you know what? I kind of agree. Because Star Wars is about the legacy of the Skywalker story and the Skywalker family, the Skywalker bloodline. I love the idea that the Force can be with anybody. Anybody can find, as long as you're Force sensitive, anybody can be a hero. And that was one of the ideas behind The Last Jedi.
And this is something that is introduced in this trilogy, is Force-sensitive people versus people who have the Force. So when we watch 1 through 6, you either have the Force or you don't.
I don't know if I agree with that completely, only because of Leia. Like, Leia, she's a Skywalker, obviously, and it is what it is. But she's not like an active trainee or user of the Force in episodes 3 through 6. She's not.
Correct.
She's Force. She hears Luke because she's Force sensitive. But you're right.
The Force.
But you're right in that the idea of being Force sensitive has been really explored in episodes 7 through 9.
So I will tell you that The Rise of Skywalker completely mirrored for me Harry Potter in multiple ways.
Really?
Yes. Like, I could not get out of my Harry Potter mind. There are so many things that I was like, Harry Potter, Harry Potter, Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. Harry Potter.
So, okay, let's get down this. So, Force sensitive, maybe think about you're either a muggle, a non-magical person, or you're a witch or wizard, or you're a squib. Okay, so you're someone who can like see wizard stuff. You could see the magic. You're aware of it, but you can't do anything about it.
Yes.
So to me, and then there were people who like, had magic just in them. They weren't born with it necessarily. They weren't from a magical family, but they ended up having magical abilities like Hermione Granger. So Hermione Granger, Force sensitive. Like, what if Finn? So we get a sense of Finn being Force sensitive, even in the Force Awakens. He picks up the lightsaber and wields it. That's the first time that we see a non-Jedi, non-Force person using a lightsaber. And granted, Kylo Ren was injured, and that's why they kind of had a little bit of a duel for the shortest amount of time.
Absolutely.
But to me, that made me step back and say, wait a second, why can Finn hold that? Why can Finn use that? Is there something special about him? And then we look at Maz Kanata, who understands the Force, oddly, what's going on with her, talks about it, knows about these kind of things, but doesn't seem to necessarily use the Force personally. So to me, she's a squib. It's like she's aware of it. She's involved in their universe. She can kind of train and teach people and hold on to lightsabers. I don't know why. Why does she have that lightsaber in her garage? Who knows? But to me, she was like a squib. Yep. So I felt like there were non-magic people. There are people like Han Solo who, like, you've got no Force.
Yep. That's just you're just awesomely cool.
Yes. And then you've got hardcore Force people, Rey, Luke, Anakin, all the Jedi that we've seen, like obviously wizards.
Yep.
And then we've got these people who now in The Rise of Skywalker are coming out saying, I'm Force sensitive.
Yep.
You know what? Why can't they go get trained?
Yeah, and here's the thing. I think a lot of people are saying that the Rise of Skywalker, it's hard because you're always going to look at the Rise of Skywalker through the lens of The Last Jedi. You can't.
In what sense?
The Last Jedi sets up a lot of different narrative threads that the Rise of Skywalker has to build upon, and the Rise of Skywalker has to acknowledge. Like, for example, the idea of Broom Boy, right? The kid with the broom at the end of Rise of Skywalker.
I forgot about him.
And like the notion that, again, the Force being anybody, even Rey being just a nobody.
Because, like, what about these people? So think about Episode 1.
Yep.
When Anakin Skywalker is brought before the Jedi Council,
Yep.
and Yoda says he's too old. Well, what would happen to old Force people?
Nothing.
To old Force-sensitive people?
Nothing. They would just be
still
sensitive.
have the Force, yeah, and they would still get
Right.
to do weird things
So what-
like
but I-
Broom Boy.
But I guess the Last Jedi posits that anybody can be a hero.
Yes.
Anybody can have again, as long as you're Force sensitive, anybody can use the Force for good, right? To stand in the face of tyranny.
Yes.
And yet the Rise of Skywalker.
It's so Quaker. We all have an inner light.
I know. The Rise of Skywalker then turns around and says, "Yeah, Rey, she is a nobody. Her parents, were, they chose to be nobody, but she is important because she's a she's a Palpatine, and that's what makes her blood so special. That's why she's so Force strong." Do you think that in those terms, The Rise of Skywalker is a rejection of The Last Jedi? Like that theme. Do you think the Rise of Skywalker rejects The Last Jedi in those terms?
Yes.
See, I disagree.
That the Rise of Skywalker. I don't think I understood your question.
Okay. So The Last Jedi posits that anybody can be a hero.
We're all special.
We're all special.
Yes.
If you have the Force, you can be a hero, right?
No, anyone can be a hero.
Well, what I'm saying
that was
is
Rose's whole thing.
No, I guess you're right. You're right. But with Broom Kid especially, it's positing that anybody can use the Force. Anybody can be a hero.
Yes.
Do you think that Rey
They're all
being
millennials.
Yeah? Do you think everybody gets a trophy? Do you think that Rey being a Palpatine in The Rise of Skywalker rejects the theme of The Last Jedi?
No. Hold on. What's that sound?
I don't hear anything.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, we have our kids upstairs, which would make this a little bit more complicated.
Yes.
So you don't think it rejects that?
No.
No.
I do think that it gets a little sticky icky because, as I said, we're going back over this, because she was told, you're a nobody. She saw herself in the reflection. It is a little weird.
But then again, she was told that she was a nobody by Kylo Ren, who, if you wanted to argue, made and again, that follows suit with it follows suit with the theme of Star Wars, that things from a certain point of view are always true. So from Kylo Ren's certain point of view during The Last Jedi, Rey's parents were nobodies.
I'm so over this topic.
Okay. Another reason why I kind of disagree that The Rise of Skywalker rejects The Last Jedi in these terms is Finn.
Mm-hmm.
Finn is obviously Force sensitive.
Yes.
And, there's an argument about what he was trying to say to Rey during the whole film of The Rise of Skywalker.
I thought in the film, when I saw it the first time, I thought he was trying to say, Rey, I love you. I in no way, shape, or form got through osmosis that he was supposed to be saying, Rey, I can feel the Force.
Right.
It wasn't until I asked you or I saw it online, like, what was Finn trying to tell Rey? And J.J. Abrams comes out and says it. And everyone's like, duh, he was trying to say I'm Force sensitive. I did not get that.
Yeah, I think...
In my second viewing, knowing that, it made a lot of sense. Obviously,
Yes.
that was what Finn was talking about the whole friggin' movie. But still, I did not get that.
I think there's an argument to be made. either way, like if you really wanted to do that, like that he loves Rey or that he's force sensitive, he feels what she's going
But
through.
that's the fun of this movie is you get to pick what you want.
And that's the beauty of J.J. Abrams' storytelling style. He doesn't just give you everything. He allows you to interpret, right? There's this great scene in The Rise of Skywalker when she's looking out at all of like the on the planet where the big like music festival is happening, and Finn says, "Hey, what are you looking at?" And she looks and she says, "Nothing." But it's a callback to the same exact thing that Han Solo says to Rey in the Millennium Falcon when she's looking at him and she's like, "What? What are you looking at?"
I didn't know that was a callback.
Oh yeah, and it's
Okay.
and he says, nothing. Don't worry about it. So like it's up for interpretation,
Okay.
right? It's up for it, and I like that the whole mystery box style of storytelling. Some people hate it. I happen to love it. I happen to love this notion. Let's talk about real quick.
Will it be real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
We talked about Rey being a Palpatine. We think that it works, and like
You
again,
love me.
I
You
do.
love me.
I do. She's giving me the signal to hurry up, and I don't know. Like there's just some things you can't hurry. Like I disagree with the fact that Rey being a Palpatine is a bad thing. I totally disagree with it.
Me too.
I totally disagree because it's a story about the Skywalkers.
Palpatine's been
and-
there since episode 1 as well.
Exactly. He's been there since episode 1. And it's only a matter of time before these two lines, these two lineages intersect one another again.
Otherwise, who's the bad guy? Rando Snoke?
Yeah,
And this
like
just made so much more sense because you sit there in episode 7 saying, who the heck is this Snoke? Where the heck did he come from? He's just some rando again. At least we could understand random people when the Emperor was in charge and like he just kind of had this legion of random guys.
yeah.
But with the Emperor supposedly dead in episode 7, it just felt so out of nowhere. And granted, all these characters were so new, but now knowing that the Emperor was behind all of them adds such beautiful continuity.
Right, and it makes Rey have to choose. In any movie, in any story, any character, the whole point of any story is choice, right? It's choice. What do I do in the face of adversity, especially as it relates to who I am, what I'm going to be, and who I want to be? And that choice that Rey faces when she learns that she's in fact a Palpatine makes
she
that
could be the Empress. She could have all the power.
right. She could do it. She could save her friends. She could do all of that stuff, and she has all the abilities because she's in fact this massive she's part of this massive Force lineage. Clearly, that choice is what makes this story important. And if I were to put a category, if I were to put a theme on this entire trilogy, the new trilogy, that would be it. You don't necessarily have to be what you are. You can be who you choose to be.
Mm-hmm.
You can even for Poe. Poe was a spice runner, as we find out in this film. He doesn't have to be a spice runner from going forward. He can be a general for the Resistance who leads the way to the downfall of the entire Final Order and the first all of the orders. He does that because he chooses to do so. And I think a lot of people ask, what does the new trilogy add to Star Wars on the whole?
New Force powers.
Oh well, yeah, but thematically and story wise, what does it add? And it adds you can choose to be whoever you want to be. You don't have to go down a certain path.
You don't have to go to the Jedi Temple School.
Right.
Screw you, Yoda.
What do you think of now that we're going down this path here a little bit? Luke Skywalker, his role in this film, and how he catches the lightsaber and says a Jedi's weapon needs more respect. Do you think that is a rejection of The Last Jedi?
No.
I totally agree. Totally 100% agree with that.
I loved Luke in this one.
He was great.
Loved him. I could have used some more. Not gonna lie.
Absolutely agree.
I loved that he got his ship out of the water and it played Yoda's theme and totally mimicked everything that Yoda did in Episode 5.
Yep.
No, I adored Luke. I could have had more of him, as I said.
Totally could have too. I think the whole thing with a Jedi's weapon deserves more respect. I don't see it as a rejection of the Last Jedi. In fact, I see it as an embrace of the Last Jedi.
As he learned,
because Luke his arc in the Last Jedi was that he believed one thing in the beginning, and at the end of what he did, he believed an entirely other thing.
Yes.
He believed that he learned that his exile, everything that he had done up until the Last Jedi, was wrong. It was wrong.
Silly Luke.
That didn't come from the Rise of Skywalker. That came straight from the text of the Last Jedi. That came straight from it.
When did he say I was wrong?
No, his actions showed that he
okay.
was wrong. Right? You know, when he
Like
goes
it
to
came for the text, and I'm like, where?
No, his actions showed that. He goes and he realizes. Remember at the beginning of the last Jedi, he says, "What do you think I'm going to do? Go down there and face down the First Order with my laser sword, and I'm going to go and protect and kill everybody." That doesn't happen. It's not going to go the way you think it's going to go. And at the end of the Last Jedi, he does that very thing. He creates hope.
Good old Luke, always bringing hope about.
So when he goes and as a Force ghost grabs that lightsaber, that's an affirmation of the lesson he learned in The Last Jedi.
I'm down, man.
If there's one thing that you wanted to say about The Rise of Skywalker, and one thing I will agree with you on, the rejection of The Last Jedi, is that at the end of The Last Jedi, Luke goes out as he goes out to do a couple of things. One, he goes out to stall for the remainder of the Resistance to escape, which they do. But the big one, and the one thing that the Last Jedi posits, is that Luke goes out and is the last beacon of hope once again. He goes out and he stands up in front of the First Order. And if you remember all the kids at the end of The Last Jedi, they're talking about how Luke stands in front of the AT-AT and they all shoot down at him. He's still alive. And Luke Skywalker and da-da-da. The Rise of Skywalker doesn't allow for the idea of Luke being the final hope. It kind of overlooks that a little bit. It kind of says, yeah, that was important for that film. But for us, nobody showed up still. Nobody cared still about the Battle of Crate. Nobody cared that Luke showed up and sacrificed himself. He wasn't this beacon of hope. Would you agree or disagree with that? See, now that's a real question. That's something, if you want to be critical of The Rise of Skywalker, I think that's the one thing you can be critical of.
I mean, on the flip side, she takes the name Skywalker. It's almost like you wish that they wouldn't have said Luke Skywalker, that they would have just said Skywalker, and then it would continue to be this mythical Skywalker Jedi, whether male or female.
Sure.
You know, that the name Skywalker will go down for another couple of generations. I mean, first with Anakin, and then with Luke and Leia, and now Rey. I think her taking the name Skywalker gives that a bit of backing. But I agree. I mean, no matter what, The Last Jedi and the Rise of Skywalker don't mesh perfectly. They are not perfect puzzle pieces.
No, they're not.
So, you know, there's no sense in forcing those puzzle pieces to be perfect. I mean, they messed up some things.
Yeah, I wouldn't say messed up. I would say that they just weren't congruous.
Okay.
They didn't
Fit.
They didn't fit 100%.
No.
I think JJ took things from Rian Johnson that really worked and said, I want to go with this. But I have my own idea.
The Force connection, FaceTime kind of thing.
Yeah.
That was cool.
I mean, there's something special to think that Rey is just nobody and she is just going to do what she wants to do. But there's also something really special about Rey being a Palpatine and that these families are going to collide at some point. It's only inevitable. Both of them have merit. They both do. It's just a question of which one do you prefer to believe in?
Okay.
Which one do you prefer as your storytelling device? As a fan of J.J. Abrams and as a fan of Star Wars in general, I like both. I do. I think it's fun to think that Rey is a nobody. She was raised as a nobody. She was raised as just some kid on Jakku. That's it. That's who I am. I'm waiting for my parents. Just because her father was a Palpatine or her mother was a Palpatine doesn't mean
Her
that
father.
it's any. Her father was a Palpatine doesn't mean it's any less true. It's just it's there. That it is what it is. She still believes herself to be a nobody.
You know what I don't believe?
What's that?
That the Emperor couldn't find her all this time. I mean, this is the Emperor.
Yeah, and you know what? While we're here with the Emperor, let's go with this. Does the Emperor work for you in this film?
In what sense?
His presence, what he does for the story, how he's introduced. Does this work for you?
The introduction does not work for me.
How come? Well, what about it does not work?
Just the blanket, like there's a voice. The Emperor lives. Like, what in the world? What do you even mean? Where's he been? What was this voice? Was it like Alexa? Like, what is going on?
Somewhere, every Alexa that's listening to this is freaking out.
I know, but that's like everyone hears this voice of the Emperor. When? Okay, and I mean that's one of the blessings of the scrolling opening is that they just kind of like get to throw things in there.
Yes.
So I didn't like that. But I did love being introduced physically to him and seeing his lair and seeing how just debilitated he was and seeing all the little Snoke puppets, in the jars. They look so gross, but it made so much sense finally about Snoke a little bit more. So once I actually saw the Emperor, I felt fine with it.
Yeah.
But up until then, nope.
Yeah, I think the introduction of the Emperor was clunky.
I would have much preferred to actually have seen during all of this space travel and running amok and finding things, to have actually had like the emergency broadcast system on everyone's ship.
Right.
Have a voice come through.
I mean, technically, you did see that. It
What?
did happen in the film when Charlie from Lost was like, "It's over. It's all over every channel. Yada yada. This message, the final order, and he's going to destroy everybody." Technically, that did happen.
I wanted to hear it.
But you're right. I did want to hear it.
I didn't
before the
want
film.
Charlie, who I adore. I adore that actor. What's his real name?
Dominic Monaghan.
Dominic Monaghan. I adore him, but I don't know you in Star Wars, so I'm actually not going to listen to you. I mean, honestly, I didn't listen to any of these new nobodies, and I didn't listen to Kerry Russell because I'm just like, you guys are nobodies in my heart.
Well, let's pin Kerry Russell for a minute.
But I'm just saying that I didn't listen to Dominic Monaghan's point because he was a nobody. If Rose had said it, I would have listened.
It would have been different. I agree. I would say that the introduction of the Emperor was clunky, but I don't know how else to introduce it. I don't know how else to better introduce the Emperor, right? I don't know how else to say.
They could have done it in the Last Jedi. That's the problem.
Yeah, but they weren't going to do it in the Last Jedi. I think if the writers, if Chris Terrio, who is one of the writers, along with J.J. Abrams, they were partners. I think if they had their druthers, they would make this film 2 parts.
Yeah.
I think the first part would be Kylo Ren
Just
searching.
Make it 10 episodes.
Yeah. But the other issue is that George Lucas intended this to be 9 episodes.
Oh, George Lucas. Oh, well. I mean, and that's it. It's like we can't rewrite. They can't redo it. And I'm getting tired. We've been here for 45 minutes.
So having said that, I think the best opportunity they had, the best choice that they had, given how The Last Jedi went, was let's just say it in the crawl. And you just have to accept that as the truth. You just have to accept it as part of the world.
As
that
we have
is what
every
happened.
Single crawl.
Right, every crawl
has been pretty dynamic with like,
Absolutely.
Here's major stuff that's going on. We don't want to waste 20 minutes of your time, so here's what you need to know.
Yeah, I agree. I think introducing it in the crawl was probably the right choice. I can't think of a better way to do it. So I think I'm fine with it. What did you think of how they handled Rose? I mean, we joked about it earlier, but they handled Rose in this certain way.
Poorly. I'm glad she's not romantically involved with Finn.
Yes,
because
I totally agree.
it was just so drastically different. Whereas in the Force Awakens, there's this connection between Finn and Rey, whether it's deep friendship or you're starting to feel there's some admiration and possibly romantic feelings going on between them. And then flip-flops, Last Jedi, Finn and Rey, who were like so intertwined. I mean, Finn literally told the entire Resistance, no, you got to hold up. We got to go rescue Rey.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? He stopped everything to go do that, and then he pieces out, and Rey does her own mission, and he does his own mission. Then he befriends Rose.
Mhm.
Great, awesome. Rose was awesome. I mean, Rose was a nobody. She was
Mhm.
just someone who had your regular blue collar job, but she really became such an amazing hero, and she added so much heart. But then once again, awkward romantic chemistry going on between them. And you're like, all right, is Finn going to be in this weird love triangle? Does Rey even want to be with anybody? Rey's kind of like hand sexing with Kylo Ren. And I don't really know how I feel about any of this anymore. And it just added this extra weird dynamic that once again, had Finn and Rose just didn't have that kiss. I don't know. Kisses make things complicated. And then here we have all this emotional investment in Rose. We have emotional investment in Poe and in Finn and in Rey, and everybody got their moments in the Rise of Skywalker, but not Rose. And it didn't lead anywhere.
Right.
And I don't know if she asked for that. I mean, I know that the actress was like hated online and she ended up quitting social media and she had to go to
Yes.
therapy. I mean, terrible things happen. So you don't know if she actually said, listen, I understand that my character needs to be in this movie, but I do not want people to blame me for anything. And I don't want to be the next Jar Jar Binks. Like, I don't want anything more.
That's a possibility. It's
So-
it's been confirmed by Chris Terrio that they had planned for more with Rose.
Okay.
But they were keeping her. They wanted to root her. They wanted to give her something to do with Leia, and obviously, Carrie Fisher as Leia had died, and she wasn't there for any of the filming. What you saw on the film was deleted footage from The Force Awakens
That
of The
they
Last
just
Jedi.
like CGI.
They just like moved it. Yeah. And Terrio confirmed that they had more planned for Rose, but when they started doing this stuff with Leia and putting Rose in with Leia, and as they were writing it, the photorealism of Leia with Rose just wasn't there. And they didn't want to put anything on blast with Rose anymore because
Gotcha.
the photorealism just wasn't there with Leia.
No.
So why put a subpar product out there just for the sake of having it out there?
So what you're saying, because honestly, when you watch the movie and you know that these scenes with Carrie Fisher were not meant to be in this part of the film, that they just literally took like the scraps of what they hadn't used of her, and they said, what can we write script-wise that go along with her being like, is that the right choice? Or whatever, just vague
Never
things she
underestimate a
says.
droid.
Yes.
That whole thing.
Yeah, just like vague little things. Knowing, like, we knew Carrie Fisher was dead. These were things that they used from the scraps. You can't watch it and not think that. And had they used that with Rose after she'd gone through everything, then people could hate. I understand.
Yeah.
But still, I just don't. There were things in this film that could have been given to Rose's character.
I think there was a lot of people complained that this film, The Rise of Skywalker.
I just feel like we're being so negative about this movie.
No. I think a lot of people complained that the film just moved too quickly, especially in the first half, because they needed a thing to find the thing to find a thing to get to wherever they got to go, right? It's what's called the MacGuffin, right? As made famous by Alfred Hitchcock and guys like George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. The MacGuffin being the thing that drives the plot, right? They always were looking for the thing in the first half of this film, whether it was the thing that led to the Wayfinder or the dagger or whatever. That's a reasonable it's a reasonable complaint, but I think you can't have best of both worlds. You can't say I want the thing, but I want more of Rose. I want more of Rose in the story. There just simply wasn't enough for Rose to do in this already packed film.
Okay.
It was already packed.
Could have given her all of Dominic Monaghan's lines.
I think that's fair. That could just be a solid that J.J. Abrams was doing for Dominic Monaghan.
It was. Just like Kerry Russell.
Yeah, I would say that Kerry Russell, as much as I love Kerry Russell, deep down
there was no need for that character.
in the cockles of my heart, I love me some Kerry Russell.
What was that cutie little like patootie puppety thing? What's his name?
Oh, Babu Freak.
They could have literally just had Babu Freak without a hot Kerry Russell. in a
Babu
mask.
Freak could have been there without Kerry Russell.
He held his own. Okay, you don't need Kerry Russell. We don't need the spice trade like winking, except I'm in a mask. And who is that? I know that voice. Oh, I know that dramatic black eyeliner.
Yes,
Kerry Russell.
I know that raspy voice.
Yeah, no.
Hey, space trash.
You could just know that when JJ like ended up getting this film last minute, his buddies called him up and were like, JJ, I
Come on.
totally want to be in Star Wars. Please put me in.
Right.
Yeah, let's talk about the things that we loved, and
No,
then we need to get going.
no.
It's 51 minutes.
No, I
long.
think we have talked about the things that we loved. I think we've rejected a lot of the criticism of the film based upon what we've loved.
I mean, we've definitely loved the music. If you are a Star Wars fan,
yeah.
you have not yet truly listened to the soundtrack, to the score of this. It is a treat.
Yes, absolutely. Especially with how the themes of
With how
Kylo
Rey,
Ren
yeah.
and Rey are handled, especially at the end of the film.
Yes.
How they're both
Interwoven.
and then adjusted harmonically,
Yeah.
so that they kind of mesh together.
Yeah.
Great stuff. So now that we're here with Kylo Ren, finally, 51 minutes into this podcast or into this show,
I'm tired. My watch is yelling at me saying you're supposed to be in bed in 8 minutes.
Kylo Ren, how did you feel about his arc, how he ended up, and do you like the fact that they kissed, he and Rey, at the end?
I'm all for all of it. All of it. Sign me up.
Yeah, you really?
Yep.
I love me some Kylo Ren. And I love how it was handled.
I'm glad he's dead.
I'm glad he had to die. Had to die because, well, first of all,
He killed Han Solo.
he killed Han Solo.
That in and of itself, like he cannot live, and they cannot have babies and live happily ever after.
He's got to pay for
Han
that.
Solo.
Got to pay for killing Han Solo.
But the other thing too is that, it's a lot of people were hating on Kylo Ren, saying, "Oh my gosh, he can't ever be redeemed because of all of the people that he did kill." Well, people love Darth Vader, and Darth Vader killed just as
he
you know,
killed
lots of
younglings.
people. Yeah.
He killed younglings. As much as Kylo Ren killed a whole bunch of people, he didn't kill no younglings. I'll tell you that. He may have killed Han Solo. Totally agree. I don't believe the fact that Ben Solo or Kylo Ren was irredeemable. I just don't. Star Wars is about being redeemed. It's about finding who you are, except for the Emperor, of course.
And then the kiss. Okay, so
let's talk about the kiss.
I didn't see the kiss as like, "Oh my gosh, you're my soulmate, you're my true love. Oh my gosh, you brought me back to life." Blah. No, I saw it as, you just brought me back to life.
Holy smokes!
I just watched White Christmas again the other day. My favorite Christmas movie, and in it, when the not housekeeper, but like the secretary, the lady that like manages the desk, she hears that that the two male singers are trying to help out the general and like bring business back to the inn.
Yep.
She says, "I'm so happy I could kiss you," and she kisses both of them, and I was like, "That's it."
Right.
Yes, as much as I love me some fanfic of Reylo.
Give me all the Reylo.
As much as I love that, I took it as not Rey being so romantic, "You're my soulmate, I want to make out and make babies." I took it as, I am so happy that you've made this choice to come to the light. I'm so happy that you also brought me back to life. And we are in this together. So I didn't see it as like, let's go make babies kiss.
Right. I with time, I think I've agreed with you. I think I'm agreeing with you with time.
Is that the theme of this episode? Of
I
Facebook
don't
Live?
know. Initially, I will say that I liked the film on the first go.
Yeah.
I loved the film on the second go.
Yeah.
And now that I've had time to sit with it and relax with it and just let it soak in, I'm more okay with the kiss. At first, I was not. At first, I felt like they didn't earn that. I felt like it came from nowhere. It came out of nowhere. I felt like it was just like, okay, they're together and he dies and that's the end. Like, it just felt like it wasn't earned. But over time, hearing you talk about it the way that you have, it's made more sense to me.
Yeah.
What really makes sense to me is Leia dying and not being able to vanish become one with the Force until her son becomes one with the Force.
Why?
It just, it took her to stop, because let's be honest here. Kylo Ren defeats Rey in that final lightsaber battle. He defeats her.
Waves and everything. Yes.
Yeah, he that's
She's
it.
so tired, the poor thing.
Both of them are tired, but like especially her. And it shows you that she's not just some Mary Sue. Like she got her butt handed to her in this fight. It's not like when it was The Last Jedi when they're fighting together, or The Force Awakens when Kylo Ren is shot by Chewie's bowcaster. He took it to her and he beat her, and he was beating her the entire time. So it took his mother to stop him.
I also wondered if she was tired because she kept like rubbing her hand, and I don't remember.
Right? Yeah.
But I wondered if she was tired and if her hand was hurting because of helping save the snake.
Yeah, I thought about that. Like she says, "Oh, I gave a little bit of my life force to the snake." Like, and I'm not going to tell you no.
That was like a couple days before that.
Right.
This all seems to have happened very quickly.
Yep.
In the grand scheme of things, which is why I'm okay with the pacing of the movie. It does seem like it takes over the course of a couple of days.
Sure.
Yeah, she like helps the snake, and obviously we know that when you're giving this life energy, I mean, heck, Ben saves her and he dies. He gives what he has. It's not like there's
well, later on in the film,
unlimited life source. And then and she's healing him.
Yeah, I think I just like the fact that she got her butt handed to her, and it took Leia to stop Kylo Ren.
Yes.
Because there's already evidence of that, where Kylo Ren in The Last Jedi goes to shoot the main bridge of the ship, and he senses his mother and doesn't do it because that's his mother. He can't do it. Having said that, what I think really turns Kylo Ren isn't necessarily his conversation with his mother, but the memory of his father, Han Solo. What do you think about that? What do you think about the memory of Han Solo being with Kylo Ren?
I'm fine with it.
I cried.
I know you did.
And cried, and how it was almost an exact shot for shot, word for word callback to The Force Awakens.
And they clarified, they say in that this is a memory.
Yeah, I like that. They said you're just a memory.
Yeah, it's not that this is a Force ghost. It's
Yep.
not Han coming back magically. He's not Force sensitive all of a sudden. No, I loved it. And like you said, it was, so much of the words were the same words that were said.
Yep.
Right before he killed him. I loved that whole scene.
I thought it was so special.
I think it was very important too, because we had lost Carrie Fisher, and we could have done so much more with Princess Leia, General Leia, but we couldn't because she was dead.
Special.
So to be able to have that with Harrison Ford is huge.
It was great. I'm so happy they were able to get him back into
They
the
have
film.
his mom saying Ben, stopping him, all this happening, and then his dad. Oh, I mean, sign me up.
I think lastly, what I want to talk about is the final battle, how all the between the Emperor and Rey and everything, how it all comes together at the end. Ben comes back and saves Rey through this amazing use of the Force, how they can pass things back to one another.
That was awesome.
Man, what a great shot. And there's this incredible scene between Rey and Kylo Ren when she is in his quarters, he is on the planet, and like the way that the camera pans around, it includes
Are
both
you
of the
cool
backgrounds.
with like these new Force abilities being shown in this movie? Me too. I feel like Rey and Kylo Ren both have the light and the dark, and they're able to explore things without necessarily going to like proper Jedi school, and this is how you do it. And so they're just exploring the Force together, and they both have so much power because of their heritage or their family. I guess.
They're a Force dyad, as it's explained in the film.
I like that these new experiences get to keep happening. With
Yeah,
them.
I totally agree. And one of the things too is like the Force is expanded throughout the whole trilogy.
Yeah.
Every single the Force is expanded every single film. Every single film. There's no explanation. It's not like, hey, guess what? I learned this in school today. Like it just it just happens.
Yeah.
It just it's
They just
there.
try it out. Yeah.
And more importantly, again, it comes back to one of those things that you just have to, I think as a story, you just have to accept as part of the story. The Force dyad between the two of them makes them special.
Agreed.
Maybe not every single Force user or Jedi or Sith or whatever Kylo Ren is, maybe not all of them can do this. They just happen to be together as a Force dyad, and they are exceptional.
Yes.
They're exceptional, and that's what makes this possible, that they can pass things through the Force, and she can pass the lightsaber and so on and so forth. So I'm all in on Kylo Ren's story. I think that was the most important thing to me. I wanted a quality story and good arc for Kylo Ren, and I think they got it.
I agree.
I think they got it.
And especially, being the title, The Rise of Skywalker. Granted, it's about Rey as she takes on the new surname of Skywalker. But also, the Skywalker in Ben
Right.
was able to come shine through.
Right. I totally agree. I think it has multiple meanings, which I think was the point of it all. I think finally, let's talk about the last scene of the film, the last frame of the film. Rey takes on the Skywalker name, and she stands in front of the binary sunset. The Force theme is playing. It's the end of the film. She's burying Luke and Leia's lightsabers. They both appear to her as Force ghosts. Are you on board with this as the final shot of the film? Would you have liked something else? Would you? What are you thinking?
I was down with it. I'm fine with that ending. I think I loved it. I mean, it just tied it back into to episode 4.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine with it.
I think so too.
My only concern is okay, the Skywalkers are famous. What happens when the tour companies come and they explore that house, and somebody's going to have a metal detector? I mean, heck, what are those people called? The ones that just deliver the droids and find stuff. I'm surprised.
Oh, Jawas.
They have metal detectors. They have metal things. That's how they picked up.
Do you think there's a Gary
R2
Drayton
units.
Jawa that shows up with his metal detector with his
Gary.
top pocket
Curse
find?
of Oak Island. Seriously, I was like, Ray, I hope you're burying that very, 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 very deep, because this is a hot place. This is going to be on the Jedi tour circuit.
Right.
But I liked it.
Here's a question for you.
She buried it deeply.
Does Rey stay there with the Millennium Falcon with BB-8, or does she continue on with her life?
No, she's got to go.
Yeah, I think so too.
She's got to go explore. Maybe she'll go pick up Broom Boy.
Broom Boy is where it's at.
She's already got all the books. She might start her own Jedi school.
Where does this leave Star Wars, do you think? Where does Star Wars go from here? That's a good question. What do you think it does from here?
I don't know.
Do you think that this story of the Skywalkers and everything that we're watching with them is just gone? It's just done, and we can move on to other small parts of the world, like the Mandalorian, for example?
Yes.
Or
even though I don't like the Mandalorian, but yes.
Yeah, I'm not in love with the Mandalorian. I'm not I liked it, but I think it's good. It's okay. But so do you think that there is any story left with Rey, or would you even want more story with Rey?
No.
I don't think so. I don't think I would want one anymore.
There's enough fanfic to keep us busy.
There's so much Reylo fanfic. So much Rey. Well, we are at an hour 4. Is there anything else that you would like to say about this film, my darling?
I shut down at 10:30. These poor people have to see me I
know, that's true.
literally melt and go to sleep.
That's true.
No, I mean, you and I have talked about it. I loved this movie. I can't wait to see it again. I enjoyed the music. I enjoyed Kylo Ren / Ben Solo's arc. It was really exciting to see Rey be such an incredibly strong female. Yes, she's Palpatine's daughter, but I don't have a problem with that, because I feel like, just like you said, everyone who wants to be a hero can be a hero in the Star Wars world. And it was fun. And just as a fan of Star Wars, I had fun. Was it the most perfect Star Wars movie? No. Were there issues with it? Yes. But I had fun. And I think that that's one of the things that you have to take into consideration when you watch the Star Wars movies.
Yep.
It's just, you're here for the ride, man.
I think for me, I really liked this film. I was emotional. I got satisfying conclusions for all my characters that I really loved, and because of that, I was in on it.
Chewie didn't die.
Chewie did not die. I think if there was one thing you could say about this film that I did not like, was the fact that Chewie didn't die. Like they had the fake
Either
out.
Chewie should have died, or C-3PO should have had his memory honestly wiped.
Yeah,
like
I think those
something
fair
sad.
criticisms.
There should have been a Hedwig dying or a Dobby dying.
Absolutely. If we're going to talk about Harry Potter,
I don't think that they took that chance. When Chewie ended up being alive, I was like, "Oh, you're weak.
Oh, yeah, that
You're
was
weak."
and like I remember when that moment happened, I covered my face up like this, and I was
I honestly pictured. I was like, "Hedwig's dead.
right.
Voldemort just shot Hedwig." Like that's all I pictured. I was like, "All right."
And there,
The stakes are high.
And I'm sure if they did that, there would have been a cavalcade of people saying, "You can't kill Chewie that way. He's one of the main characters." Blah blah blah.
He still needs his medal.
Whatever. Like and like if you want to talk about all the
Deserved it.
the pleasing
No, but
the
I
fans.
agree. I was fine with him being back alive because whatever, but I really wanted him dead.
If you're gonna take a chance and you're gonna kill Chewie, kill Chewie.
Yes.
And
or
like
C-3PO's memory.
and like that's the thing. If Rey is gonna have the lightning and do the whole thing when she's being tested and blows up the thing, like there has to be a consequence for her going to that level.
The Last Jedi took insane chances.
Yes.
A lot of which did not settle well with a lot of people. I
Right.
mean, the chance of taking Luke Skywalker and being like, yeah, he's kind of bad. He's kind of a jerk. That was huge. And that was a chance they took. Whereas the Rise of Skywalker, they didn't really do that. Like, they dabbled.
They did, but they put their toe in the water. They're like, oh, no, too cold, too cold.
And I think I would have, as sad as it sounds, and trust me, I'm a Chewbacca fan. I'm happy he's alive. I'm happy he got his medal. But when I saw that, I wanted to be like, wow, JJ.
Yeah.
Like, bold choice.
That would have been.
Now the stakes are high. And actually, I wanted it because I wanted it for the dark side of Rey to come out.
I wanted it to resonate with Rey. Like, when she said, I did this. This was me.
Yeah, like when Anakin gets really bad, it's because his mom's dead.
When he kills the sand people,
Yeah.
he does it.
And I wanted Rey to be pushed that far so we could see the potential for the dark side in her a bit more.
Absolutely. I think that's one fair criticism of the film that I could
Chewie
mount
should have
against
died.
it. Chewie absolutely should have died when he died. He absolutely should have died.
Yeah.
Um,
And if you, like me, were like, that was so weird. How was Chewie alive? When I saw it the second time, there were two ships.
there are two ships. It's explainable.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair criticism of the film, and one that I will go to my grave with saying, oh, they should have killed Chewie the way that they did.
Agreed.
I understand why they didn't do it, but they should have.
Yeah.
Because then there's a repercussion. There's a repercussion to Rey's power. One that makes that shows that there were real consequences to the choices that she's making.
Once again, Harry Potter.
Right. Absolutely.
The choices.
And that's, I think, one of the problems with this film is that it's trying so hard to be everything to everybody. It's trying to end the whole saga, but more specifically, it's trying so hard to end its own trilogy.
Yes.
And there's just a lot. There's a
of
lot
weight.
happening.
Mm-hmm.
And even though it's not perfect, I give JJ and I give Chris Terrio so much credit.
Agreed.
So much credit for them being able to end this trilogy the way that it is and the way that it's done.
Well, that being said, I think it's time for us to end our Facebook Live and
Totally
our
agree.
discussion about the Rise of Skywalker. Obviously, this is a much more casual format than our usual podcast episodes, so we appreciate you and thank you for tuning in our jammies pretty much as
Yes,
we wanted
definitely
to talk
jammies
about
for me. I'm wearing my Star Wars jammies.
wanted to talk about just a movie that brought us joy, a series that brought us joy, and we're probably talking about it again.
What
some other day.
let's go out on a great note. What was your favorite part of the whole film? Favorite part of the whole film?
I think it was you need a lightsaber? Cool, I've got two. I'll reach behind my back. Cool, got it.
For me, my favorite part is absolutely Kylo Ren talking with Han Solo. It's just once that happened, the whole emotionality of the entire film and the
Yes.
entire arc, it came right through, and I was like, oh, talk about bookending. Talk about my love of bookending for a character.
Yeah.
Woo, boy. that made the needle move for me.
Awesome.
The needle moved. So we'll go on a great note, and that is it. As for now, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. I'm off to bed.
Me too. I'm ready to get some sleep.
Talk with you soon. Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you.